Hello and welcome to episode 59 of the HamCorp training manual. In this episode, we will integrate thaumatorcraft contraptions with applied energistics. Specifically, we will cover the alchemical furnace, thaumatorium, and after a quick trip to the Twilight Forest, infusion. I have finished all the research that I had access to in the energistics tab. I don't know what this is, but I guess we'll find out at some point. One thing employees will be happy to know is that while editing the last episode, the sounds of the portal literally drove me insane. So I brought the sound muffler over, and you won't have to suffer through that ever again. But apparently you're going to have to suffer through spider sounds. But I don't know what to do about that. Anyway, I've taken a look at all of these different things. For me, the most important things right now are the Essentia provider. This is basically an ME interface, but for Essentia. Also the infusion provider. This needs an Essentia provider to make. The infusion provider is also kind of just an interface, but it's specifically for infusion. So when you start an infusion with the infusion provider nearby, the runic matrix will take out Essentia from applied energistics directly. So that's really nice. I've already started work on gathering materials to make these two things. The Essentia providers are going to be used, one for the infusion provider, of course, but one for each of these machines. So one Essentia provider is going to provide the required Essentia for any alchemical construct stuff. And then the other one is going to kind of act like an interface that we dump things into. And that's for the alchemical furnace and the alembics. Also, I need to upgrade this thing. Besides that, in the last episode, we put this thing together. This is very slowly siphoning things away from the other nodes, like you just saw. Perfect timing. Thank you very much. We're going to energize this node at some point in this episode, and that will start producing CentiV, and that we can use in applied energistics using this, the V relay interface. So this is kind of a P2P tunnel for CentiV. And finally, the arcane assembler, which is basically the automated arcane work table. This is expensive. I need to make thaumium-embossed silverwood scepters for each one of these. They need to be fully charged. And finally, there are two more parts to this whole applied energistics transition. Firstly, the distillation pattern encoder. This allows us to teach the network the Essentia contents of different items. But there's a second type of pattern here called the knowledge inscriber. This uses knowledge cores, and this is also pattern storage. But this is for the arcane work table. Or I should say the arcane assembler. So it's still not 100% clear to me how CentiV plays into all of this, but we'll see. First of all, I want to at least make infusion a little bit easier because gathering these different aspects by hand is such a pain. So I want to automate the infusion altar, and I want to automate both the alchemical construct and the alchemical furnace. I have a few Essentia providers now. One of them I'm going to set aside for making the infusion provider, and the other two I'm going to use here. I'm not sure exactly how these plug in, but for the alchemical furnace, there are some things that I could have done a while ago that I just didn't, and I don't know why. So first of all, I can make the thaumium alchemical furnace. It's just faster. And then I can also make arcane bellows. That also speeds this up. One thing with the thaumium alchemical furnace though is that it requires alumentum to operate. All right, I have set up the alchemical furnace, which I upgraded to thaumium, by the way. It was just an infusion, not too bad. And I've also set up the alchemical construct / thaumatorium. And this is one way that I figured out how to use the Essentia providers. So because this is basically an ME interface, this alembic is outputting into it, and it gets sent into storage. So this is relatively straightforward. This one, I don't know how to get this to do on-demand crafting. Because of the way the recipe is chosen here. I know there's, this thing, the mnemonic matrix. Now this lets you store some recipes for these alchemical constructs, but I haven't made any and I don't know exactly how they work. So that's something else I need to play with. But what I have here does work for what I need. So the way this works is there's an interface. This is purely for accepting items into our system. I still have to manually put in things and choose the recipe, but the Essentia is provided automatically through this Essentia provider, as long as I have enough in storage. And then the output item is always output from the front here, so it goes into the interface and is sent back into storage. So this isn't really on-demand crafting. I still have to do it by hand, but it takes away a lot of the more tedious parts of this. Next, I'm going to make the infusion provider, and I guess also the distillation pattern encoder, and I'll start making my way towards the arcane assembler. This is another staff upgrade. You saw that last episode. You saw plenty of that last episode, so I don't think I'm going to show most of it, unless there's something special here, but I don't think there is. This is a lot of aspects, though. So I was investigating how to automate crafts that use Essentia, and I was given a very useful guide in the HamCorp Discord. And this is very different than how we do other things. There's a concept of fake Essentia, which is basically like a fake item that Applied Energistics creates to keep track of how much Essentia is in the system. Yeah, great, how fun. So what I'm going to do to start off before I explain how everything is set up is I'm going to set up a new ME drive. Also, I made the distillation pattern encoder. This is also something that you're going to need. And in this ME drive, I'm going to put in some cells, but these cells are going to be formatted. I haven't done that before in this playthrough. You're going to need a cell workbench. This is basically a way to set allowed inputs for storage cells. This doesn't use a channel, which is nice, and I'm actually going to place it here in the control room. So to format the cell, we're going to need two things. We're going to need a fuzzy card, and we're going to need a sticky card. Both of these cards are necessary, and they're going to go, well, I guess they're both not technically necessary, but they make life a lot easier. And now to format the cell, we just need to drag in a Thaumcraft aspect into the slot, and that will complete the process. The fuzzy will make it so that all aspects go in here, and then the sticky will make sure that all these aspects only go here. Now, if you just search up aspect on NEI, you're going to see a lot of different aspects. These are not the ones you want to use. These are from Thaumcraft NEI plugin. Do not use these. This is not going to work. What you need to do instead is go to the distillation pattern encoder, put in something, it doesn't matter what, and then this shows you the different aspects from that material. If you notice, this is from Thaumic Energistics, not from Thaumcraft NEI plugin. So if you favorite this and go back to your cell workbench, you can drag this in, and now this is configured. I'm also going to move my Essentia cells over there. I'm going to have to empty these, I think. And here I'm going to set a high priority. I don't think it matters because it's fuzzy and sticky, but may as well. And now the storage has been configured. If you've already dumped a bunch of Essentia into your storage, you're going to want to take it out. Because if you just put it in through these slots, the fake Essentia has not been generated. So fake Essentia is basically, like it says, fake Essentia. And what happens is whenever a craft is done, it either consumes or generates an equal amount of fake Essentia to real Essentia. And the fake Essentia is how the ME system keeps track of Essentia, because it's not able to directly keep track of Essentia like real Essentia. So it has to keep track of this fake Essentia. However, putting things in and taking things out manually doesn't affect the fake Essentia count. So I'm going to have to empty these, and I'm just going to consider these wasted because there is a way to put in previously collected Essentia into your system, but it just seems like a pain in the ass, and I'd rather just burn new things to get Essentia and fake Essentia in correct amounts. So I'm going to empty this and just put it in a chest somewhere. Alright, I've cleared out the Essentia. It's all in this chest. Now, I don't know if I have fake Essentia, because it actually doesn't show up on the ME terminal. So the way I'm going to find out is I'm going to take my sticky partition cell and then set my ME IO port to transfer data to my storage cell from the network. And I'm going to put this in. And it looks like there was nothing. So that's good. Anytime you have fake Essentia and real Essentia problems, just do that and reset your system. It's a pain, but that seems like it's the only way. And now I can start teaching the furnace how to get different Essentias. Also, I have an export bus here, putting alumentum into the furnace. I don't think I showed this. And then also I put down 2 arcane bellows. I can't really tell the difference that these arcane bellows are making, but at least they look cool. So according to the guide, which is linked in the description, by the way, we should not be manually handling Essentia anymore. What we should be doing instead is teaching the system how to get different fake Essentias from items, and in the process it'll also make real Essentia, which gets sent into the Essentia provider. So that's how this whole system works, by keeping real and fake exactly the same. Now I'm going to set up the thaumatorium automation. This actually needs a little bit of a subnet, and once we have that done, I'm going to automate alumentum as an example. So this is what the setup looks like. There is space for some mnemonic matrices. So the way this is set up is there's the Essentia provider. This provides real Essentia to the alchemical construct. There's an interface on the front here. This is where the output goes to send our output back into our system. There's another interface over here. This one is named. This is what's going to appear on the crafting interface. And this is where we put in our patterns. So this will send fake Essentia and items into this interface, which is on our little yellow subnet. The subnet has no storage except for this matter condenser and the construct itself. So there are 2 storage buses here. This one into the matter condenser has a high priority fuzzy card, sticky card, and it has Thaumic Energistics aspects in here. So any fake essentia is going to be sent into the matter condenser where it is just voided. The matter condenser is something that's kind of out of scope for this, but basically what it does is it generates singularities. This is an applied energistics thing, but we're basically treating it like a trash can. A regular trash can have throughput issues apparently, so it's better to use this. This second storage device at a lower priority, this is where all of the items go, the catalysts. Those go into the alchemical construct, where it's processed into stuff using this real essentia, and the item is sent back into storage, like I said before. So item goes in, fake essentia goes in, fake essentia is destroyed, item goes here, and then from here, real essentia comes in, the exact same amount as the fake essentia that's been destroyed, and we make an item and send it back into storage. And that's how we make sure that the real and fake essentias are kept consistent. Now to encode this pattern, we can't use these Thomcraft NEI plugin aspects, of course, so we're going to have to do some distillation pattern stuff. I think I'm going to maybe have just a permanent bookmark page with all of these aspects or something like that. And now in the regular pattern terminal, we get 1 alumentum from 1 charcoal dust. So I also finally figured out what this thing is. It's to set the amount when you drag something out as a ghost. That would have been so useful for other things. So now I'm going to set this to 6 because it needs 6 ignis and 6 potentia. Like that. And 3 perditio. Just double check that these are all thaumic energistics, and there we go. So that is our pattern. This pattern goes in here, and then these 2 patterns are for making the different aspects. These go in here. Now hopefully this works as I expect it to. I'm gonna try and craft 1 alumentum. I don't have charcoal dust, of course. All right, now I'm gonna try and craft 1 alumentum. This is burning things correctly, that's good. And oh yeah, I do need to select this over here for the first time. All right, there we go, 1 alumentum. And hopefully there's no fake essentia. Ooh, there might be. Oh, right, of course there is. There's fake essentia because burning the air crystal powder gave me some other aspects as well. The air and precantatio. So cool, this works correctly. And we are able to see these in the essentia terminal as well. Nice. Now the problem is this alchemical construct can only make alumentum at the moment. So I'm gonna need to make some mnemonic matrices. This lets you have multiple kind of active recipes at the same time. This will allow me to do, I think, 6 recipes at once in total. So every 6 recipes, I'm going to have to make a new thaumatorium, which is fine. So I've added a mnemonic matrix, and I think it allows you to do 2 extra recipes per matrix. So that's nice. Now, what I did was I added the thaumium recipe, but as soon as I did it, because I had this essentia provider still plugged in, it used up 4 of my precantatio. However, because I did this manually, that's a bit of a problem. So what happened was 4 real precantatio was used, but 4 fake precantatio was not used because the ME system didn't know that that craft was happening. So what I had to do was I used an export bus and a chest, and I just exported 4 precantatio into the chest and I threw it into the trash can. So now I've used up both 4 real precantatio as well as 4 fake precantatio, and now everything is lined up again. It's something to be mindful of if you accidentally use up some essentia that you didn't mean to. Also, I set up the infusion provider. Any infusion now will just draw straight from here. But I haven't automated infusion. If we start using essentia without the system knowing about it, that's a problem. So this is going to have to be automated. I can't just get by with saying, oh, I'm going to automate it later. I have to do it right now. First of all, I'm going to move all of these infusion stabilizers down 2 levels because this is a lot of just visual clutter. Now, to automate infusion, we're going to need a few more things. We're going to need an advanced blocking card. I'll explain what this does later. Going to need another fuzzy, sticky matter condenser setup. We're going to need an infusion claw. This needs some research. And we're going to need an infusion interceptor. This also needs some research, which I happen to have done already. Now, to do this infusion, because I don't have infusion automated, I'm going to have to be very careful with real and fake essentia. What I can do is, for example, to get my 100 precantatio, I can just burn 50 magic wax and be very careful in that I take out all of the essentia that I make using this manual burn. Yeah, I think that'll work. Oh my god, man. To make this infusion claw, there are so many sub-infusions I need to do. This one's an infusion. This is an infusion. I need to automate void metal, void seeds, all of these aspects for the void seeds. Okay, well, I'm glad I set this much up because this is going to take a lot of the load off. Oh, that took forever. This is the infusion for the infusion claw. By the way, I forgot to mention before, but for the matter condenser, you need to change the mode to condense into singularities and also put in a 64K ME storage component. You can just use this as a trash can, but this is a better use of all of these wasted fake essentias. Then once this infusion claw is done, we can automate infusion. Okay, here is the new automated infusion altar. Now this looks a little overwhelming, because it is, but let me try to explain what's going on here. The red network is our main net, and the purple network is our infusion subnet. So we start here. I have an interface, and I've named it. This is where our recipes are going to go. So items and fake essentia will be sent into this interface. This subnet has no storage except for the matter condenser for fake essentia, and then storage buses on each pedestal. The fake essentia is just going to get voided, and all of the items are going to get sent to the correct pedestals. The matter condenser and storage bus are configured the same way as the other one, and then these storage buses on the pedestals are configured in a very specific way. So the matter condenser has a priority of 1000. This central pedestal has a priority of 13 because there are 12 pedestals on the rim and 1 in the center. So we want this one to be filled first, so it has the highest priority, but not so high that we just void our items. Now, all of these storage buses, I've manually gone through each one and updated the priority. So this way it fills in a way that makes sense and is balanced for any infusion up to 12 input items. Underneath this pedestal, we've got the infusion interceptor, and right next to it is the infusion provider connected to the main net. So this is going to provide the real essentia for the infusion. And what the interceptor does is it basically makes the infusion altar instantly accept all of the essentia that it needs. To trigger the infusion, we have the infusion claw at the top with one of my old wands inside. Connected to that is an ME level emitter on the subnet. This level emitter is configured to 2 and no item has been specified. And the redstone mode is the default, which is emit when levels are above or equal to limit. So when our subnet has 2 items in it, this will turn on and the infusion will start. The reason we set it to 2 is because you need at least the central item and 1 side item to start an infusion. And finally, to manage our outputs, because our output just appears in the same pedestal, I have an Ender IO conduit with a filter. This means that I won't be able to do every single infusion in one altar because there are going to be conflicts. So I'm probably going to have to make multiple altars. And finally, this output item is going to be put back into an interface which connects to our mainnet. I haven't actually tested it, so let's do that right now. I wanted to test by making a charged thaumium cap, but the inert one needs night metal screws. So I need to make a quick trip into the Twilight Forest to get some. Oh. Nice. Thank you for watching this episode of the HamCorp Training Manual. In the next episode, we will automate the arcane work table by using an arcane assembler, which will finally allow us to make ender tanks on demand. After that, we will finally use the Tier 3 rocket that has just been sitting in storage gathering dust, and set up miners on Tier 3 planets and moons. After that, we will continue on with magic mods besides Thaumcraft, like Botania, Blood Magic, and Witchery. See you next time.